China may be more and more assertive, less and less regarding of the niceties of international cooperation, but it's also needed as a partner in everything from the fight against climate change to the fight against international terror. Conservative MP Alicia Kearns is co-chair of the China Research Group of MPs and member of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, which is heading to Taiwan later this year. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello. There are a number of people scratching their heads about Miss Pelosi's visit. Its timing, even its necessity. What purpose, if any, do you think it served?
Well, look, I think there are a lot of people quietly declaring the commencement of what they're calling a fourth Taiwan Strait crisis. But Pelosi's visit isn't the spark that's lit this. And what's really interesting is that the Chinese Communist Party are the ones that have demonstrated a wholly disproportionate response to this visit. And they've tried to make it a flashpoint because they've placed this enormous strategic importance on the visit when they could actually have just dismissed it out of hand as nothing more than a political stunt or a low-level delegation. But they're choosing to use it to draw a line in the sand. And I think that shows how worried they are and how important this is for Xi Jinping as he attempts to kind of reconsolidate his position going into the 20th National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party.
You plan to visit alongside other members, along with other members of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. I mean, it's an interesting choice. I can see the sort of defensive democracy argument. At the same time, Britain doesn't actually recognise Taiwan as a country. It doesn't have, there's no embassy here. I think it's called a representative office or something like that. I mean, it's quite a step, isn't it, that to say that Taiwan is suddenly so important to Britain and important such that it needs a visit.
Look, I think the reason for going, and it was me that suggested that we should visit as a Foreign Affairs Committee, is that we visit allies all over the world. We also visit our friends and we try to understand the biggest issues facing our country and also international security. There is no question, that's why we're having this interview now, that what's happening in Taiwan matters. And actually that show of alliances and friendship matters, but also we need to understand what's going on there. We may not formally recognise them as yet, and I would argue that doing so in the immediate would actually play into Beijing's hands at this very sensitive time, but trying to learn and educate yourselves. The Chinese Communist Party, looking at their history, should be saying, great, educate yourselves, learn more about a great part of our country. But they've misplayed it entirely and turned it into something quite different.
Is China an enemy now? I mean, I think this morning, Parliament has shut down its social media, its TikTok account, the social media company that is owned by a Chinese company. Does that make China itself now a hostile power as far as you're concerned?
So I think there's two distinctions I make. So they are absolutely a hostile power, but that does not make them our enemy. And I think the idea of them being a strategic competitor is a right one. What we have to recognise is that China is a tech totalitarian state, and it's building its totalitarianism and its power based on the data of people all around the world. And that is why, shutting down the TikTok account, making sure we strip out Hikvision from the fact that it's in our schools, it's recording our gates, it's recording our faces, it's sending all this information back to China. It's about being smart. And actually, if we were to look at one thing to really protect our country in the long term, it is about this resilience piece. That is the fundamental thing we can do. Because if we want to be able to really support Taiwan, we need to implement the strategic change at home that allows us to be stronger on the world stage. But while we have this reliance on China, and while we have them too deep into our system, whether it comes to education or information or technology, business, you name it, we will be unable to stand up for the values-based system and international world order that we believe in.
What does resilience mean in this circumstance? Because, I mean, the wholesale substitution of Chinese technology for homegrown technology is almost impossible, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's why, we have to challenge any naive visions of a world where all cooperation or engagement with China ceases. That's just not possible. But diplomacy is inherently messy and complex. And what resilience means is going industry by industry, and by that I mean our strategic industries, I mean education, information, tech, energy, you name it, and growing our China capabilities so we can work out where we can cooperate with China and where actually, based on our understanding, we can't. And then it's about going, right, okay, so for example, Confucius Institutes, that's one of the things that I pushed forward, and I'm very pleased that the government accepted that we need to have the power to be able to shut them down because they are part of a hostile effort by the Chinese government to undermine academic freedom. We need to look at energy, so for example, solar plants, and we need to say, right, we need to have less reliance on polysilicon. The University of Loughborough has just worked out how to build solar panels without polysilicon. We need to go between every single industry and go, how do we make this stronger, more resilient and less reliant, and how do we shift supply chains to those we can trust more? So antibiotics is a priority. There's all sorts of different industries, but it's hard work and it's long work. But that's ultimately what allows us to be more effective on the world stage, but also be safer at home.
And you clearly see this as one of the great foreign policy struggles of the future.
I would actually put it beyond foreign policy. I think this is the foremost strategic priority for any incoming government. This is what they have to focus on. We owe it to the people of Taiwan to get this right, but actually we fundamentally need it for ourselves. And it's interesting because people often say, well, Alicia is just a China hawk. Hawks are there to kill. I'm not there to kill. I'm there to protect my nest, to protect my country, and to protect our people and our freedoms. And unfortunately, we are currently under attack, or our faces or information about us back to the Chinese Communist Party, or whether it's unable to have academic freedom discussions or being over-reliant on certain businesses who are corrupt or have Uyghur slave labour within their supply chains. We have to get better at this, but it is not easy, and it's going to require a very adult conversation with the public about where we're going to have to give up some of the things we've got used to that make life very easy and fast.
Alicia Kant, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.